Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. If you watched any of the recent Hangar 9 P-51 content, you know that I was talking about an engine swap. So this is the DLE-20 that we got on here, and this is the 35 that's going on there. So a couple of things. If you line up the prop flange, I guess you want to call it, what we have here is I'm going to have to open up the firewall just a little bit for the front of the carburetor, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Keeps the carburetor inside the fuselage, so the pressure is nominal. The only bummer here is that the standoffs that come with the motor are about a ½ inch too long, so I'm going to have to shorten those. Other than that, it should be pretty straightforward, and it looks like it's going to fit in the cowling really well. So anywho, let's get this 20 off of here. Okay, there she is. This motor is not even broken in yet, but it's run like a champion. Let me get sunlight in here. Might be hard to see, but still a ton of cross hatching in the cylinder cylinder wall, and the ring is not even fully broken in yet. Top of that piston is super clean. I'm going to be selling this engine actually, so if any of you are looking for a DLE-20 smoking deal, hit me up in the comment section and we'll figure it out. But that's getting sold. I'm going to weigh everything. I'm sure I could pull the weights off of the website, but see, I mean, yes, it's bigger, but one of the things I like about 35 is the cylinder is actually quite a bit farther back, which puts it in a better spot in the cowling. So just based off of what I saw, I'll have an opening cut here for the head, but it's just the fins are almost flush with the surface, so it'll be perfect. Alright, so let's so these are the standoffs that you get with the motor, and I got this motor from Horizon. So this is a full hardware kit. The only bummer is, like I said, the standoffs, as you can see, come just past the carburetor, and I need them to be just short of the carburetor. So I've got a couple of options I need to explore, but we'll figure it out. Alright, so I've already shortened the standoffs down. The cool part about these is they're threaded to about right here, which is more than enough because the screws only come to about right here. So anyways, once I'm ready, I'll be installing these in the motor with some Loctite on those bolts, and then we get the firewall drilled up and get it all mounted. But in the meantime, I'm gonna get this cowling fixed up, so obviously I don't need this barn door sized hole in the side anymore, nor whatever that was, or whatever that was. So I'm gonna fix the cowling right now while it's warm outside. I'll get this in cure, so that way while this is curing, I'll finish up the rest of the install, and then I'll put this thing out in the sun, and hopefully it'll dry quick, and I can body work it and maybe even have it all painted and totally done today, which would be really cool. Unfortunately, tomorrow the flying field's closed because they're having a pattern event, so that's a bummer. But we'll see. Hopefully we can figure something out. Maybe take it for a quick test flight up here if it's not too windy or something. But anywho, yeah. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to scuff the backside of all this fiberglass with some like 80 grit. And a couple ways you could do this. You could just put tape over the holes, which honestly isn't a horrible idea. It makes for a little bit more body work when you're done. But what I would do is just take masking tape, cover the holes, and then on the inside put fiberglass patches. And then once it's cured, pull the tape off because it won't stick to the glass. And then just Bondo body work. So I'm going to be getting a 4-inch true turn spinner from my dad, which is slightly larger than this, so I'll body work that into the cowling with a little bit of Bondo and look a little more scale and be a real nice precision metal spinner. So anyways, should be really sweet. I'm gonna see if I can find some 3D printed exhaust stacks that are a little more scale than these, and obviously, you know, there's a bunch of glue and stuff around these things, so not the prettiest. So I might pop those off for now while I do all this bodywork stuff, and see if I can get some nice 3D printed ones that are more scale. But anyways, yeah, it's already going pretty quick, so Should be done today, no problem. Alright, so you see I've taped up the areas. I didn't tape up that spot because that's where the cylinder head's going to be, so that's going to get cut out anyways. But I've used some green masking tape to cover up these other holes. And again, it's not the best way to do it. I probably could have used some Depron or something and put some packing tape on it and made it a little bit nicer, but honestly, one coat of Bondo and all this stuff's fixed. Is it the most cleanest way to do it? No. And my friend Brett Becker is probably going to cringe if he ever watches this because he's like the master of composites. But quick and dirty, that's the name of the game when it comes to stuff like this, for me anyways. So we're going to patch this puppy up, bust out the Bondo, and do a little bit of body work. Okay, so I got my pieces cut. I got 3 or 4 layers for the big sections. I got some carbon strips cut. For the back of the cowl, I'm going to reinforce where the screws go through because that area always wears out. So I got these little strips here for that cutout section. So got the resin mixed, and when you're doing a layup, you always wet the surface out first. You brush it out. I got an acid brush, so I'll wet out the whole area that's getting the glass, and then I'll start putting the glass layers in. So we'll just get to it. Alright, so you can see here I got the layups in there. Didn't turn out too bad. So now we're just cooking it off and do some body work once this is done. Okay guys, so I got the motor mounted. You can see they have center lines marked on the firewall, which is super nice. I made a little template of the lugs here and got it all mounted up. So you can see I had to open up the firewall to get clearance for the carburetor. No biggie. So the cowling is pretty much dry. I took all the tape off earlier, so it's not terrible. Needs a little cleanup work. Obviously we got to do body work on it, but you know, quick and dirty. And it's definitely much stronger now than it was before, so it was kind of flimsy before. So now I got to get the spot cut out for the cylinder head, and then we can do the body work on this thing. All right, so we have the cowl all clearanced up. You can see it's nice and clean this time. And you can see, just like I thought, the motor just peeks out underneath the bottom of the cowling. And you can see our true turn spinner that I got from my dad. He drilled the back plate out for me to match the DLE shaft on there. You can see I got a step, so I got to fill this in with Bondo, make the transition nice and smooth and tight, and fill in some of this, which is actually good because the scoop is kind of big on this thing. So this spinner is a little bigger than the original stock one. And it's still not perfect scale, but it's definitely closer than it was, not only in size but in shape. So anyways, pretty stoked on that. And I opened up the exhaust port areas, so when we do put exhaust on here, we can make them functional to where hot air comes out of them from the engine bay. You can see we got plenty of cooling air straight to the motor. We got the cylinder head sticking out in the airstream, and the spark plug is back at an angle like this, so it'll come out and then have a boot right here. So very minimal visual intrusion on the motor, which is cool. And yeah, so now it's just body work and paint on the cowling, and then we'll remount it and set up the servo, reinstall the tank. I'm gonna have to install the batteries in the back somewhere to help with the CG. This motor is about 6 ounces heavier, so not the end of the world, especially on a model that's as lightly loaded as this one. So this thing should be a real rocket ship. All right, so I got all the body work done, all the Bondo work. As you can see, it's in primer. I ended up having to change the opening for the spark plug wire. Excuse me, spark plug wire. But yeah, overall pretty clean package. And then I got the throttle hooked up, I got the tank in, and I got a little choke, manual choke here, so you can see the carburetor down in there. Anyways, now it's just paint and some screws, and then find a spot to put the batteries in the back, and paint the spinner. Got to drill the holes in the spinner and the prop still for the flange. But anyways, looking really sweet. All right, so I got the paint the paint all done. That silver matches really nice, actually. So I haven't redone the mounting holes for the cowl yet. I just sprayed the silver, so I got to get the holes drilled in the back plate and the prop. Then I can mount the prop and the spinner. But before I mount the spinner, I'm going to test run the engine. So I'm going to get this drilled out while this is all drying, and then we'll run the motor up. Well, just about wrap this up. So see, we got a nice snug spinner gap. I didn't quite get the cowling screws right. It's offset just a little bit, so may end up redoing those at some point, but anyways, fits real nice. Gotta get some exhaust stacks, obviously, but I did run the motor up a little bit before I put the cowling on it. It started right up. Not super smooth. Probably a lot of it has to do with this cut down prop that I got on here. So I'll get the proper prop for the Zor. This is a Zinger 22.8 that I cut down to a 28. Probably closer to a 2010, honestly, at this point because of the cut down. But anyways, that's all I had, so I just wanted to run it. I'm going to get a better prop for it, obviously, but yeah, let's get this thing flipped over so you guys can take a good look at it. Puppy's running like a champ. Look at that big old prop. Alright, that's it, guys. Hopefully the next video of this thing you'll see it flying. Alright guys, there you go. It's starting to loosen up real nice, and actually it's running much smoother now that it has a spinner on it. This prop probably won't stay. I'm sure it'll make a lot of thrust, but I'm sure it won't be very fast. But the motor seems to like it, and it's running pretty good. So we're just kind of doing a little running here to loosen it up a little bit, and seems to be taking it pretty well. Played with the mixture just a little bit, but factory settings were pretty close. And yeah, love the way it turned out. Looks really sweet, especially with that big old prop arc. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the DLE 35 RA install on the old Hangar 9 20cc P-51, and we'll see you on the first flight.